Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ankita Jain. I am a periodontist and implantologist. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to all of you for the immense support you have given me on my initial videos. Now today, here I am for two things. First, to discuss the examination tip as promised, and second, to discuss my upcoming plan for the videos. So firstly, let's see the examination tip. Today's tip is that try to incorporate flowcharts, colored diagrams, tables, pictorial representations of the answers as much as possible. Less text and more diagrams, more flowcharts, and more concise form will make the answers eye-catching for the examiner and easy to understand. You can get the examples when you will go through my videos. So try to do that and use this tip and grab high marks. Now the second is to share my work plan with you for the upcoming videos. From today onwards, I am starting a series of periodontal classifications and scoring. In each video, one topic will be taken and all the classifications and scorings present till date will be discussed right from the first to the last. And I am going to share some clinical pictures related to the topic at the starting of the video, so that if you know and you can answer them, then directly comment your answers in the comment section and brush your knowledge by watching the video. And if you don't know, then please listen, watch and study the video very focusedly so that you can answer those questions at the end of the topic. Please write your answers in the comment section. Lastly, if you find the topics to be very much simplified for you, then kindly like, share and subscribe. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Under the series of periodontal classifications and scoring, in part 1, we will cover the classification and scoring related to the gingival enlargement. Here are the contents: introduction, classification, scoring of gingival enlargement, references in relation to this data, and question bank. Other details. So before starting with the topic, let's see the clinical cases. So here there is a clinical case 1. Please read whole history and answer according to you in the comment section. If you don't know the answer, then go through the video, learn the topic and then again try to get the answers for these clinical cases. I'm attaching these cases at the end of the topic also, so that you can self-evaluate by solving the cases. I'm not giving much time here on the slides as it will tend to make the video very long. Please pause the video and go with the whole history of the cases and then answer it. Similarly, this is the second case of enlargement. This is the third case. I have mentioned only the necessary details in order to answer the questions, not the whole history. And this is the last one, fourth case. Try to find out their answers by learning through the video. And if you know the answers, then you can directly comment. Now let's begin with the topic. Introduction. So let's get familiar with the definitions of different terms related to gingival enlargement. I always believe that go with the terminologies and you can extract the definition out of it. So here is hyperplasia. There is increase in number of cells which lead to the growth of an organ. Second is hypertrophy. There is increase in the size of cells which leads to increase in the size of an organ or a part. So there is gingival hyperplasia, that means gingival overgrowth due to the increase in number of cells, and gingival hypertrophy, there is increase in the size of the cells which leads to the increase in the size of gingiva. Okay, but the third terminology is gingival enlargement. It is a clinical descriptive term and avoid various pathologic terms which were used to describe the hypertrophy of gingiva. Like for example, Previously, hypertrophic gingivitis was used. The term gingival hyperplasia was used. These all terms are now discarded, and overall the term gingival enlargement or overgrowth is used. Okay, now let's see the classification. Classification of the gingival enlargement can be on various bases. First is etiology and pathologic changes. Second is histopathological changes. And third is according to the site and location. So let's see first etiological and pathologic changes which results in the gingival enlargement. Now I again repeat, always go with the terminologies. So here inflammatory enlargement is given. So the gingival enlargement which occurs due to the prolonged exposure to dental plaque, calculus, and results in inflammation of gingiva and increase in its size, that is known as inflammatory enlargement. Okay. Now it can be acute or it can be chronic. It is called acute when the enlargement occurs in response to changes in the gingiva which takes place in last 24 to 48 hours. And the chronic inflammatory gingival enlargement is said when the changes in the gingiva has taken place since long time and results in the gingival enlargement. So if 24 to 48 hours, then acute, more than that, then chronic. Next one is drug-induced enlargement. Now again, drug-induced means it is caused due to any kind of drugs. Now commonly, these three categories are seen for drug-induced enlargement. That is anticonvulsants, example of it is phenytoin. Immunosuppressants, so most potent is cyclosporin immunosuppressant drug, which results in the gingival enlargement. And third is calcium channel blocker. Amlodipine is mainly associated with the gingival enlargement. All the details we will be taking afterwards about each kind of enlargement. Here just we are discussing the classification in very short. Now enlargement associated with systemic diseases or conditions. Now first is here conditioned enlargement. This enlargement occurs in presence of certain conditions. That's why it is known as conditioned enlargement. Usually those conditions are pregnancy, puberty, vitamin C deficiencies, etc. Now actually these conditions do not directly cause the gingival enlargement. In fact, they modify the response of the gingiva towards the local factors or towards the plaque and inflammation. That results in the enlargement of gingiva, and such enlargement is known as conditioned enlargement. Second is systemic diseases causing gingival enlargement. Now there are certain diseases which causes directly the gingival enlargement like leukemia, granulomatous diseases, etc. Fourth is neoplastic enlargement. As the name suggests, it is associated with the tumors, fibroma, papilloma, etc. Again, it is of two kinds, benign and malignant. Fifth is false enlargement. False enlargement, truly there is no enlargement of gingiva, neither due to the increase in size of cells nor due to the increase in number of cells. But the underlying structures get enlarged, due to which gingiva appears to be enlarged, and that's why it is known as false enlargement. Okay. Now on the basis of histopathological changes. First is inflammatory gingival hyperplasia. So here the increase in number of cells takes place due to the inflammation. Second is non-inflammatory gingival hyperplasia, where there is increase in number of cells due to some non-inflammatory conditions. And third is there is combination of both the above hyperplasias, that is inflammatory and fibrous. Third basis is upon the location and distribution. First is localized and generalized. Localized when the enlargement is restricted to only one, two, or some group of teeth, and generalized when it occurs in the whole mouth. So in localized, basically when the 30 or less than 30% of present cells are affected by the enlargement, then it is said to be localized enlargement. Generalized when the whole mouth is involved. Second is marginal and papillary. When the gingival enlargement is associated only with the marginal gingiva, then it is called as marginal gingival enlargement. And when it is limited to the interdental papilla, then it is called papillary enlargement. Third one is diffuse and discrete. Diffuse means in the form of patches in the whole mouth, and discrete means when the enlargement is present in isolation with one or two teeth. So that is known as discrete. So this is on the basis of location and distribution. Now let's begin with the scoring of gingival enlargement. Now here I have given 8 kinds of scoring of gingival enlargement. So at the undergraduate level, I would say that at least you should know the names and the details about 2 or 3 to write in the exams. For the postgraduate, I would say this is very beneficial from the view of presentation, as well as you should know little details about every kind of scoring. So it's a good collection for the PG students also. First scoring was given by Harris and Abbott in 1942. So in every kind of scoring, we will remember some characteristics, and then we will try to reproduce them on the diagram. Okay. So every character you need not to produce, and you can't produce on the diagrams. And so that invigilator gets an idea that yes, you know about it. So first is score 0, where no overgrowth is seen. So there you can make a firm, resilient, knife-edged gingiva connecting the CEGs. Next is the score 1, where early changes are detectable. There will be more granular appearance of the papilla, and there will be slight roundening of the papilla tip without encroachment of the tooth, without covering the tooth surface. So we can show slight roundening of the tip. Next is moderate changes evident with increased interdental papilla and slight encroachment of the gingival tissue onto the surface. So score 2 is given. Next is marked changes face and it interferes with the function. We come on to the Angelopoulos and Gose. In 1972, they have given this scoring. This very simple scoring on the basis of the clinical crown covered. So here grade 0, none, in which you can, grade 1, no more than 1/3 of the crown is covered. Any part of the middle third of the crown covered in grade. Grade 3, greater than 2/3 of the crown covered. Next is Babcock and Nelson. They have given in the form of mild, moderate, and severe. Mild, where no gingival enlargement or very slight gingival enlargement is there, which is not appreciable. Moderate, slight but definitive gingival enlargement is there, but it doesn't interfere with the function. And severe, when the gingival enlargement interferes with the function. Next, this is very different type of scoring that is given by R.A. Seymour in 1985 on a plaster model. So here upper and lower full mouth alginate impression is taken of the patient and gingival enlargement is assessed on a plaster study model. The upper and lower anterior segments are basically taken here, and these are divided into 5 gingival units, both buccally and lingually, as shown in the figure. It is made in such a way that the unit is the distance between the line going through the middle part of the crown to the line going through the middle part of the adjacent crown. So likewise, all the 6 anterior teeth are divided into 5 gingival units. Next part is the degree of gingival thickening on both labial and lingual aspect. If we see the tooth from the incisal aspect, then we can see the thickness of the gingiva. Just imagine yourself visualizing the tooth through the occlusal aspect or incisal aspect. So if that thickening is normal, then the score 0 is given. If the thickening is from the normal up to the 2 mm, then the scoring of 1 is given. If the thickening is greater than 2 mm, then the scoring of 2 is given. Just remember, this is the gingival thickness which we have seen from the incisal aspect. Next is the extent of encroachment of the gingival tissue. into the crown. Okay, so initially what we have divided the 6 anterior teeth, upper and lower, into 5 gingival unit. If we zoom one gingival unit, then it comes out to be something like this, or this is the lower anterior. So if you imagine this part, then this is something like this. So if the gingival tissue basically enlarged and lie or cover this part of the tooth, then the score of 1 is given. If it covers up to, or it extends up to this part, then score of 2. And if it covers up to the middle part of the crown, then score 3 is given. So likewise 0, 1, 2, 3 is given according to the encroachment of the gingival tissues onto the adjacent crowns. Now if in any case there is gingival extension on this tooth is up to the first scoring part, and the gingival tissue encroachment on this tooth is up to the second scoring part, then the score of 2 will be given. Higher score will be taken. So what we have just discussed with you, that discrepancy between encroachment or on two adjacent tooth surface in the same unit, then the higher score is given. Next, the two scores, that is one, the thickening of the gingiva, where we have given the score of 0, 1, 2 when we have visualized the tooth from the incisal aspect, and the gingival encroach. These are added together and this gives us the hyperplasia score for each gingival unit. The maximum score obtainable by this method is 5. The degree of hyperplasia around upper and lower anterior teeth is conveniently expressed in the form of percentage. So higher the score, more is the gingival enlargement. Next is given by Miranda and Brunet in 2001. They have just given on the basis of the gingival thickness or overgrowth in the buccolingual direction, both for buccal and lingual papillae. So when we visualize the tooth from the incisal edge, then the thickness of the gingiva can be measured. So if the papillary thickness is less than 1 mm, then the score of 0 is given. If the papillary thickness is between 1 to 2 mm, then score of 1. And if it is greater than 2 mm, then score of 2 is given. Now here just remember that they have emphasized their grading or their scoring only on the interdental papilla. Next is histological scoring, which was given by Brack in 1987. He has given on the basis of the hyperplasia of the epithelium or width of the epithelium. In the normal gingiva, if the width of epithelium is between 0.3 to 0.5 mm, then there is grade 1 scoring. In grade 2 scoring, there is slightly overgrowth of the gingiva clinically, and width of epithelium comes out to be 0.5 to 1.5 mm. In grade 3, there will be moderate outgrowth. Width of epithelium is 1.5 to 3 mm. In grade 4, there would be severe overgrowth of the gingiva and width of epithelium is between 3 to 4 mm. So this is the histological scoring. Next was given by Bokenkamp et al. In 1994 according to the degree of gingival enlargement. Grade 0 when there are no signs of gingival enlargement. Grade 1 when the enlargement is only limited to interdental papilla. Grade 2 when enlargement involves papilla and marginal gingiva both. And grade 3 when it covers more than 2/3 of the crown and interferes with the function. Now the last one is modified Harris and Ewald index, which was modified by Prasad VN et al. In 2004. It is the first index we have studied, and this is the modification of that index only, which was given in 1942. Here score 0 represents that there is no clinical hyperplasia. Score 1 represent minimal hyperplasia with the characteristic of impression of increased density. There would be increased stippling. It would be firm, but it has lost its knife edge margin and there is no increase in the size of papilla. Score 2 is given when there are moderate changes, like there will be increase in the size of papilla, there will be rolled margins. In the first, there is the loss of knife edge margins, and in the second score, there are rolled margins. In the third, there are marked changes. The encroachment of the gingiva is upon anatomic crown and it covers less than 50%. This less than 50% of crown can be covered incisogingivally or mesiodistally. Anyhow, the score will be 3 only. In severe, encroachment of the gingiva is more than 50%, incisogingivally or mesiodistally. And in score 5, there would be the enlargement in such a way that it interferes with the function. These are the references from where this data was taken.
So here you can see the cases again, and please diagnose the case, write the answer in the comment section, and we will discuss it there only. I hope now you will be able to solve these questions. Enjoy learning and thank you.
This is the question bank, and a direct question from the classification of gingival enlargement usually comes for undergraduate students, whereas different kind of scoring systems are usually asked to postgraduate students.